Okay,
Hey.
so, hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. So we're going to talk for 10, 15 minutes or so, just kind of really touching on AI in messaging. And what I noticed up there actually is a QR code, that you can zap that QR code.
Yep.
And if you feel really brave, I think Pinder will take your phone number if you come across as trustworthy in the next 10 minutes. And what the company does is provides a bounce back message, either in RCS, I think, or another channel.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, WhatsApp predominantly. I think SMS and other channels in there as well. But you should be hit by...
That's right. So literally you scan the code and you'll get a bounce back. It will either get delivered by WhatsApp, RCS or SMS. So at Lyberate, my name's Pinder, CMO of Lyberate. Lyberate offer a mobile engagement platform that helps businesses basically communicate better. So we have a mobile-first approach, so in terms of communication, and it's also powered with AI and content creation as well. So yeah, quite a few things there.
Yeah, because I think we've heard a lot today about AI in the world of automation and chatbots, but I understand that obviously Lyberate does other things in AI as well, which we'll dig into in a moment or two. So, Pinder, in your view, how is AI fundamentally changing mobile messaging, and how does the landscape look for the future, mainly for brands? Let's talk about brands.
Yeah, well, I think AI has changed like every industry really, in so many ways, even personally. But in terms of the industry, our industry, I think the way I look at it is communication is key, and AI definitely has played a role, will continue to play a role, and for the foreseeable. But the thing I look at is chatbots, where we started, if you think about like 10 years ago or so. Lucky enough, I've been around for about 23 years, although I don't look like it. Hopefully you can say that, Nick. Yeah, chatbots. So I think where AI is really playing a role there is we're going away from automated, scripted chatbots or AI agents. So very scripted approach, not very human. It's like the computer says no type. People get frustrated and rather would speak to a real person. I think most people, or certainly the feedback that I'm getting. I think what plays a role now with AI is adding elements like NLP, natural language processing, You've got sentiment analysis. As for looking at the context and the intent of what that user is asking, and then using tools like empathy as well, where it will craft a response back depending on whether that person, how they've engaged, do they seem angry, sad, happy? So it will look at the emotions, and I see that technology being used today, and I just think it's just going to get a lot more better. I just think there's a huge potential, because I think there'll be a time, maybe in a couple of years, where people won't even know whether they're talking to a human or a AI agent, is what I think. Now, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll let everyone else decide, but certainly I think that's where it's heading, because it's all coming about conversations, isn't it? It's about the consumer experience, sparking conversations now. So that's where I think communication and AI, and certainly in our industry, will play a big role. I think other areas as well is data. I know several people have probably touched on it. I weren't here for the morning sessions, but data, I think there's a lot of data. I think Brian mentioned as well earlier about operators sitting on a load of data. I remember the days of dialogue, Brian, where we were thinking about big data and talking to operators and saying, you're sat on so much data, do you know how much we could draw from that insights and help? So I think even today, brands have data, and I don't even think they're using it the way they should be. So I think having the right layer, looking at how users are, I think, yes, there'll be this learning where you'll have to learn how users are responding, but it's really about then how do you engage with them and what kind of questions are you going to ask, what insights can you learn to provide that better customer journey. So I don't know, I think the opportunity is quite huge. That's just a few areas that I'm thinking about, but I'm sure there's a lot more that we could...
I think you mentioned to me in the break as well about segmentation and
Yeah.
how AI can help.
Oh, absolutely. Like segmentation's becoming a certain key thing, especially in the market for marketers as well. That's quite close to me. I just think learning, helping segment that data, even to the point now where you can use the AI, not just us pulling out the reports, but you just ask the question to AI and it will bring back that information for you. So it's even saving on time and making you efficient where you don't have to sift through reports, analyze it. You just ask with the integration of AI, what are you looking for? Help me segment this database. What did this user do? Which channel did it engage on? So it knows how to optimize that campaign or journey going forward for that particular user.
I think that's the word, isn't it? Optimization, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about messaging, it's all about increasing the engagement and setting something up on the right channel to get a response from the customer in some way.
Yeah.
Assuming that we're putting out the right message that, you know, the user wants to give a response.
Yeah,
but
it's got to be relevant.
Quite often you send in, I see businesses send things out on email or perhaps through social, and it doesn't really have, you know, the impact, does it?
No, not always. And let's face it, emails, it's just getting lost now. So that's why I think a mobile-first approach is quite important and why we're leading with that now at Lyberate as well.
So from a brand perspective then, when you're working with brands out there, what's the biggest opportunities, do you think, for them when it comes to AI and mobile engagement?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I think there's still a lot of people who are scared of AI. I think I was talking to a few people earlier, and certainly in the conversations, I think there's so much noise out there and in the news that people are quite scared or they don't know what to do with it. And I think that's a challenge within itself I think we have to come across, because I think it's about that education and make them understand how AI plays a role, and it's not there to replace your jobs, because I certainly don't believe that. But I think where it can really help brands is with like content optimization. So marketers, for example, they have so much content out there. I don't think it's a problem about creating, that they don't have enough time to create content. I think they've already got the content. It's how they use that content. How do they convert it? And I think with the messaging, if you've got something like an email or marketing collateral out there, I'm just thinking of a use case, for example, with me as well, is how do I take that content and transform it easily into a mobile messaging. So I think that's what marketeers are certainly looking at, is how are you going to make my life? I don't want more cost. I don't want to have to recreate or reinvent the wheel. So I think having something as simple as that, how do you repurpose what I've got here today to effectively get that out on a mobile message channel? I think that is a huge opportunity. And it's also about how we convert that as well. Do we convert it for one channel or two channels or three? So somewhere like at Lyberate, for example, you upload your content and it will automatically convert it for like 2 or 3 different messaging channels. And that's, I think, what brands are looking for. And there's a huge opportunity, the simplicity of it. I think that's what they're looking for. So I think that's one of it. I think, obviously, segmentation is another key one. I know I touched on it earlier. I think there's a big opportunity there where if they can bring all their data in together and add mobile messaging to that mix, I just think there's so much more, it can be so much more powerful to understand how they engage with that content.
So just to be clear then, so what we've heard a lot of today is potentially around automation and chatbot type stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't today, and I haven't for a while heard of much different in the AI space other than that. So what you're saying at Lyberate, it does AI on the content as well. So, you know, like we see the funny videos and we see funny images where AI's generated them, and you're doing that sort of thing.
Well, with
Lyberate?
the AI, there's several ways you could use AI to help create your message, and it can also create images for you if that's what you want. But it can also, like if you've got an email, rich email, you can upload that into Lyberate and it will automatically convert it and display it what it thinks and optimize it that will be best for that rich messaging channel. So, or you can also take the collateral. So there's several ways. So you could use AI to create content, and whether that be images or videos, as well as copy, but also repurpose the existing. So.
Right. So you're creating content, you're optimizing it, and then you're converting it into a compliant rich message.
Yeah,
right.
So when it converts it, it will be, the back end is already done, taking all the hard work, so the templates will be set to pre-approved, and it will just create that message within that template and use that content and rich media, add call to actions and stuff like that. So.
Very cool. So just switching slightly on the theme of onboarding, because my experiences and what I've seen with setting up an email. So if I'm a brand new business, I can log onto a platform, I can send an email or an SMS within a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
If I try and do that with WhatsApp or I try and do it with RCS, it's a lot more difficult. How have you looked at that challenge?
It's difficult. So I think that's the hardest bit. If I had to pick one thing, I don't think it's about the channel itself. I think it's about onboarding brands for it. It can seem quite complex. Now, I've been through the RCS process several times. I know it's improved, but I think as an industry, I think we could really use tools like AI to help with that, anything that you can automate. So we talked about, for example, I joined up with Starling Bank, and it verified me with a video where I had to speak and say, I'm thinking rather than all the paperwork, why don't we look at embedding something like that within RCS onboarding? If we need to get the verification, get them to do a quick minute video. There's just too much paperwork. It does take weeks, unfortunately. It's not as simple that you can be up and running within a day or so. And I think that's the battle that we've got to cross personally, in terms of if we really want these channels to take off, we really have to look at the onboarding, because I've worked at several CPaaS companies and that's always been the biggest challenge.
Right. I mean, it's probably not the right place or time to go into that, and we didn't really cover that today, but
no.
I know that there are plans to improve that process.
Yeah.
Tim's talked about that from Google a number of times. They're working with various companies to enhance that process. So we won't probably go into that in any more detail right now. So you're a marketeer. You've worked a lot within the industry, but you've worked outside of the industry. With what your platform does, how could that work with carriers or CPaaS companies, do you think?
Well, first of all, they could use the Lyberate tool for their own marketing, because I don't know about you guys, I have to say this. One observation I've made always in the CPaaS space is we always talk about brands using mobile messaging, but I wonder how many CPaaS companies use mobile-first approach for their own customers or partners. So that's kind of a point I always think. I think we should lead by example and do a bit more as an industry to kind of push that personally. But I think it's about the integration, so like content augmentation, looking at how you can really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really improve like the content process, because if you can automate that and really simplify that for the customer, and we've already got that, maybe that's something that we could integrate with other CPaaS or networks. So that would be one. Maybe segmentation would be the other. I think there could be an opportunity.
I
Sorry, go
personally
on.
think we used this phrase before. I don't
Go
know
on.
if people have heard of it, which is drinking our own champagne.
Yeah.
There is another phrase I won't use, but drinking our champagne is a positive one. You know, that's what you're talking about there. Why don't we, as an industry, do more of that and use that?
Yeah.
Well, if anybody needs a simple tool to do that, maybe Pinder and the team can help. So let's move on from that. I think the kind of last question I've got for you, because we are running out of time. Is, I mean, looking at the future, we've talked about a lot of stuff that's already happening in AI within messaging. What do you think the future holds, looking into the future?
Honestly, I don't know. I can't answer that. But I don't know. I think for me, I don't see AI as a threat to our industry personally. I think we have a real opportunity. The way I look at it is, I'm not sure why people are afraid of AI. AI was created by humans at the end of the day, and I think as humans, we should look at how we want to use AI. And I think if we use it in the right way, and there are regulations, I just think there's a huge opportunity, because communication ain't going to go away. It's how do we improve that customer journey, because it isn't about channels anymore, I don't think, and I think several people will agree with that here. It's all about what is the best customer experience we can provide. The other thing is, I also think there's an opportunity that even sales processes, Nick, if you think about it, if you drive them into that channel, what Tim was talking about, if you click something and you get them into the channel, because most salespeople, from what I've worked with, do most of their conversations on a WhatsApp when they're talking to their prospects. So why not map out the whole sales process on a customer channel? That's where I'd like to see where the future's going for messaging, because email tools and stuff, people just think, like sales teams I worked with ain't talking on email, they're talking within the messaging apps to their prospects.
And it's on their personal phones, right?
Exactly, everyone's carrying it, doesn't matter.
It's not plugged into Salesforce or some other CRM platform, so why not create something where you can, not necessarily just tracking people, but just looking at what are customers saying, how they're engaging, what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly. And contracts and stuff, I know that you can send them over. You've got all the rich tools now at your fingertips, so why not just create all that and create a slick journey? So personally, that's what I would like to see, more of stuff like that, where mobile is playing like a bigger part.
Great. So we've got sales, we've got marketing, we've got automation, we've got AI. It seems like you're kind of ahead of the curve here. So we are running out of time. We're going to get bleeps at in a moment. Are there any questions for Pinder just before we move on?
Hopefully everyone's awake.
I think they are. I'm looking around. Yeah. I think it's the lunch and the smells from outside, perhaps. But if there's nothing else to add, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.